we use Kevin to introduce a bit of, my guest. So can you please introduce yourself or talk a little bit about, what you did or what you're doing right now in the basketball, in the coaching world or coaching job?
Yeah, of course. First, just want to say thank you for having me on, to be here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Part of any international basketball community. Been studying your game a little bit over there in France. Did a deep dive on Monaco this year, so really like the things that are going on over there and some of the play style that you guys are using. So a big study of the game. This past season, I coached junior college here in California at San Diego City College. We had a great team, went 26-5, went to the Elite Eight, moved 3 players on to Division I level. The year before that, I was with the Indiana Pacers. There, did video player development with those guys. Worked under Coach Carlisle, who's a Hall of Famer. He's got Indiana's playing an incredible offense right now. It's all built on pace and space, getting to multiple pick and rolls, multiple actions in one possession. And I think as you watch the playoffs this year, everybody's going to get put on notice kind of what they have going on over there, especially with the addition of a few pieces that they've grabbed. So great experience under Coach Carlisle. Year before that, I was with Coach Larranaga at the University of Miami, another Hall of Fame, top tier level coach in the NCAA. When we was with Coach L, had the good fortune of being a part of an Elite Eight run in the NCAA tournament. We made it and we fell to the eventual national champion, who was Kansas. But another really, really special group of guys there at Miami, where there was a ton of learning and a similar system built on space and pace. We played 5 out. We had a shooting 5, did a lot of switching, had a lot of versatile players. So another great year down there at Miami. And then prior to that, I was coaching in high school and coaching in junior college again before that. And then it spent several years working under a mentor of mine. His name is Drew Hanlon. He does a lot of player development privately for a lot of high-profile clientele in the NBA, where I've had the good fortune of learning from him and then learning from his players as well, and just kind of some of the things and nuances that are making high-level NBA pros successful. So I have been really fortunate to be around a lot of really, really good people, and it's kind of helped me acquire a lot of knowledge, and I look forward to sharing it and continuing to grow it in my career.
Oh, yeah. So thank you. Didn't know everything about that, but I guess you have a full vision of different basketball. So yeah, I saw the analysis you did on Monaco. Was great. I'll share it again if people didn't see it for the moment. Yeah, so okay, you work with Jay Larranaga. I'm surprised I didn't know he was coaching because he played in France too. He may have told you. I remember him in Lyon as well a few days ago, but a few years ago even. But yeah, kind of fun. And anyway, thanks for being here and chatting with me about offensive concepts or building your offense in a team. So I look forward to hear from you from this because I follow Hoop Nerds. I like what you're explaining, what you're analyzing. So yeah, I think this will be fun and this will be very interesting for us.
Appreciate you.
I have one question to start the chat. I worked a bit on it and I want to know maybe how do you build your offense style or idea as a coach? If you have an advice to give to some younger coaches or beginners or, even other coaches, what's important in the building, in the, your philosophy, your idea of your offensive style or as you want to play? What's important for you to take care, to notice, and to bring to a game?
Well, I'd say the first thing that we have to do is we have to assess our situation, right? So if we're in a situation where we can recruit to our system, or we can build around, the front office can select pieces that we specifically want so we can have a specific play style, versus a situation to where you need to coach what you have and you need to get the most out of that group. And obviously you want to get the most out of every group that you coach, but I think subject to your situation of, can you bring in the profile of player that you need for your system? So, based upon that, in a setup where you can recruit and you can identify to what you want, I think my number one thing is finding positionless players, finding players who can shoot it at a high level, so that way we're allowed to efficiently space the floor, right? So anytime you have a non-shooter on the floor, it takes creativity, because obviously defenses are going to scheme against your non-shooting players. But with that being said, as long as those guys are connectors and they're able to get you to the next action, typically if they're a very high IQ player, we can make it work, even if they're somewhat of a non-shooter, because a lot of times in a perfect world, that guy is the next action guy, and he's helping us with our flow, he's helping us with our pace, and he's getting us from one action to the other, so the ball doesn't stop. So, the first beginning of the philosophy, pace 21, so that's built around a 24-second shot clock. We want to get across half court in the first 3 seconds of the clock. And for me personally, I want to get to 5-on-4 as fast as possible. So when I say 5-on-4, I mean, how do we get to advantage basketball? And the sooner we get to advantage basketball, now we want to attack. We want to let the great players make great plays. But how do we get these guys into that position as soon as possible? And then if we're unable to capitalize, how can we get to it a second time in the shot clock seamlessly without the ball stopping, without a coach having to call from the sideline, hey, let's get to this? How can we organically flow from one action to another? I think is really, really important. So it starts with early offense. That's hit ahead. That's drags. We got all different kinds of layers into our drags where we're hooking, which is basically kind of like a flat step up. And then if we're not into drag, we'll probably be into a wide. And if the wide goes into top lock, we'll probably go flow right into a Spanish pick and roll. And then a lot of just swing and chase. Catch it, hit the trail. He can just throw it to the other side, chase, go into the immediate ball screen, or he can go into a backside, so kind of like a delay action. Hit the trail. The wing will pin for the corner. Now we're into backside action, and we're playing out of delay. So, and then, just getting creative with the calls and understanding what you're playing against. But getting into action right away is the core component of this. And then having 0.5 decisions, meaning the ball doesn't stick in half a second. You're able to make your decision of whether you're going to pass, shoot, or attack. And just having a good flow off the ball as well. Whether, we're setting flares, we're setting pin down, just not being stagnant as an offense, I think is extremely important. And then, kind of getting to the next layer of that with pace 21, it's like, at what point in the shot clock, I want to get into the paint as early as possible. Going back to 5-on-4, I think that the defense truly collapses when the ball gets inside of the paint. And that can be done a variety of different ways, but the faster we can get a paint touch, the faster we can collapse the defense, and then we can play from there.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, I guess. The fact I think every coaches want the ball moving, having the flow, as you say. But I think maybe that's the point you said, to touch the paint, because the more I read from high level, very high level basketball, the more I see coaches or players wants to stick to the 3-point line or shoot lots of 3-pointers. But yeah, I don't know how you can shoot you're not dangerous to the paint, or you're not aggressive on downhill drives or cuts or maybe post-ups. So that was something I was asking myself, to be still aggressive through the paint, even if you want more and more three-pointers or things. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. You said,
the belief is the belief, the pressure on the rim. And when I say pressure on the rim, it's similar to pressure point getting to the paint. But when we have rollers, when we are close to the rim and we're putting pressure on the rim, we're now collapsing defenders, because we have the athletes and we have the guys who can finish in one-on-one. They're not, typically they're going to get by their man. And so what we want to do is we actually want to cause help. And once we cause help, now there's our opportunity for the three-pointers that everybody's looking for. And it's not necessarily all built on drive and kick, but, it is built on collapsing the defense.
Yeah.
And so the paint, getting into the paint, what it really comes down to is, if I have a quality player, he's going to be able to score right there, unless you send somebody or you have really good help or you have really good players on the defensive end. And so the theory is that actually will create more three-point attempts for us by getting inside.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, you need to have the momentum, or get your best player to give the ability to score or to put pressure on the rim. Yeah, I like the concept. Like you said, always put pressure on the rim by passing, driving, or being aggressive. I think that's
right.
A good thing you need to look for when you build your offense. And we talked about building your offense. You start from nowhere. You can pick whatever player you want. You can bring whatever type of player you want. Then you have your season, making your team philosophy, your concepts, and you're doing a second season. You have a first season, you brought some concepts, offensive concepts or rules, or for game or reading, or the flow, as you said, some rules. I give you an example. You have the pin down and then the defense stop block. So you have another rule. I don't know, something cutting or make a step up screen or whatever you want. And how do you build your second season from the what you had first? I don't know if I'm clear or if you can understand.
Yeah, I think I understand the question, and I think what is really built upon is what we're talking about is a very high IQ style of play, and with the first time group, there's a continuity that takes time to develop, right? And over the course of the season, guys start to understand each other. They start to understand each other's strengths, each other's weaknesses, and more importantly, each other's tendencies. And so going from year one to year two, it's really about knowing who you're dealing with and knowing what pace after really is, and knowing when might I flare and slip versus when might I screen the catch, right? And when I say screen to catch, I mean as soon as he catches it, we're into a ball screen immediately. There's no time to catch it, and just having that sense of when do I hit and follow, some like a zoom action, hit and chase, versus when do I hit and go opposite. And just having a feel for what we do when we are in randomness, right? Because randomness is really hard to prepare for. And I think that is the difference maker, is even though it's randomness, there's a sense of comfort within the group in year one to year two. And I think it really just makes a huge difference. And again, going back to Miami's success, they went to Elite Eight, and then they went to the Final Four the following year after that. I think a big part of it was a familiarity with each other and kind of what it takes and what we need to do. And the hardest thing to guard is random, right? It's hard to prepare for, it's hard to scout, but it's not entirely random. It's trigger based, and having a better feel for those triggers and those cues that when this person does that, I'm typically going to react to this. I think that would be the best way to put it into words.
Yeah, I understand. And as you said, harder to guard or to scout or to prepare for this defensively. So maybe that's the point. I think coach need to reach or to make the team try to reach, know each other. Players know each other, know who's the best shooter in the team, the second shooter from each spot, maybe. But it takes time. It takes time, and you need to build your team for a long time. I think so. So when do you build your offense? For example, on your last season you just finished, you build your offense. That was a good season, you said, with I don't know if it's classical or now, but a 5 shooting, you play 5 outs, and now do you keep some of your players or a lot of them, or do you have a plan for many seasons, make them improve as a team or as a player? I'm sure you have, but as a team, you never know if some of them are leaving or maybe getting to first division, as you said. So
we'll have an entirely different roster next year, and I think that's the challenge that makes it fun. There were times that we actually played a 3-out, 2-in system this year, and the previous years we had gone 5 out, 5 out, and I think that's what makes coaching really fun is you have to build around what you have, and not everybody has the budget or resources to get 5 positionless players, right? But that doesn't mean that not every team can be really, really good. And it's just figuring out, how do you build around what you have? And there may be a team that they've got 2 small guards and they're both dynamic guards. And now the question is, okay, how do we make this work together? And I think that comes from studying the game. And something that I think is going to be beneficial to me is, in the NBA, obviously there are calibers to level of player, but everybody's got certain pieces, right? There's enough money to buy what you need. And, everybody can get, this type of tool, this type of chess piece. But in college and lower divisions, it's a different deal, and you got to get creative and you got to study the game and then figure out, how do I have this core philosophy? This is how I think I want to do things, and these are my beliefs on how the game is won. And then how do I tailor that to the group that I have? And I think there's a few things, you got to have a few things that you stick to and you firmly believe in. And then I think you got to have a few things that there's times where you're willing to adjust based on the group you have and based on the level you're at as well.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the level you're coaching for the moment, but that's true. I think that's true. You need to adapt to the level, division, or the style you can have, especially with the youth teams. I guess I think senior can have some classical to play, but how about the ball screen and thing? How do you bring this? Because ball screens are everywhere now. I think so. Maybe 4 on 5 possession, you play a ball screen somewhere. So how do you bring this to new player, or the main action you make in your motion when you build your offense, or is it something you bring later? I don't really know if the question is really very clear too. But...
Yeah. So are you saying, how do we get our players familiar with ball screen, or are you saying kind of like, is that something we're going to use every time?
Something like that.
So for me, we're gonna use a damn near every single possession. There's gonna be a ball screen, almost every single one. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on that every single day, every single day. And we're going to work on it offensively, and we're going to work on it defensively, because I'm not the only coach that thinks that way. In the possession game, let's just say there's 100 possessions in the game. A good majority of those possessions, there's going to be some ball screen action. And there may be a dribble handoff to a swing UCLA, but guess what? It's going to end in the ball screen. At the end of the day, it's going to be 2-on-2. And so defensively, I'm going to spend a lot of time figuring out how I want to guard it based on the position, based on the guys I got. I think that's the most important thing outside of finishing with the rebound is guard and pick and roll. But we're going to spend every single day working on it offensively specifically. One of the things that we did a lot of is we were at a developing level, but we spent a lot of time on identifying how do we attack this coverage. And we spent a lot of time on teaching our rollers, how does your screen differ based on the coverage you're playing against? So teaching the guys, and it was scout specific. So we know, okay, we're playing a group. They're switching 1 through 4. They're 5s in the drop. We're teaching our 4. Here's when he's ghosting out and he's flipping out to the 3. That's going to put mistakes on the defense. Hey, sometimes we're not going to have you set it at all. We're going to you're getting close and you slip out right away, this time to the rim. We talked about footwork, and another really important concept for our rollers was just having a constant vision on the ball. So, obviously, to me, going back to what I said earlier, getting to 5-on-4. Yes. I think one of the best ways we can get to 5-on-4 is through pick and roll. And if we had a really dynamic ball screen player, and that's something that I'll always make an effort to have. But just focusing on that every single day, teaching the guys how can we emphasize hitting the roller, because when we hit the roller, that goes back to putting pressure on the rim. If there's no tag, that's a dunk. And now teaching our roller, how does he see the next play? How does he see whether the opposite corner is there or whether there's been an X out? And teaching him how to make that read. So this is something we worked on every single day, and we worked on it differently every couple of days based on the coverage we're going to see. So we saw somebody who was aggressively trapping ball screens. We spent a lot of time, looking at what are different options we can attack this trap on, and what are different options we'll attack the hedge on. And when the hedge, as soon as that big man retreats, which eventually he's going to have to, there's your window to hit the roller. So we spend a tremendous amount of time preparing our guys for how to attack pick and roll, and we kind of always try to make sure we knew what coverages were coming and we were ready to dissect it. And luckily, it came down to having great players who could do it, and really, really dynamic rollers who could play above the rim made it a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think you need to be accurate. So I think when you do this, so to have different options, as you said, or if you prepare for a coverage, the team used to play, and then the game day, you have another coverage coming, or maybe you have to play small ball, so the rules are changing. Maybe the Euro 5 is not covered with a drop. Yeah, you never know. And how do you adapt to this or prepare the player to develop the IQ, reading, and in the same time having options together to hit the roller or to be aggressive as a team. So I think, the question is, you face for drop coverage. Do you have, one main option for the team all season long, and then this option with the tag coming strong side, maybe a weak side? You have your option like this, and the team adapt and collapse other way. They make another rotation. So how do you bring IQ to the team during the season and during the development of the players?
Yeah, that makes sense. So essentially, my belief is you're always going to give up something, right? So there's no such thing as a perfect coverage. There's always some type of, even if you're a aggressive defense that wants to dictate, my belief is I want to use your coverage against you. So there's always something that can be done to attack it. And we spend a lot of time watching film with our guys and teaching them, hey, let's just see this coverage. And now here's what your options are. And we really break it down, A, B, C, D. And we try not to ever let our guys be surprised, because we've spent time, we've prepared on this type of coverage, and we spent time as a staff figuring out, like, let's just say, they do some a little bit different and they double or whatever. There may be a cutting opportunity, or maybe there's always an attack for every scheme. There's always an attack, and we just tried to make sure to be very aware of them, so we could do our best to prepare our guys to be ready to tackle.
Yeah, as a team to solve problems, I may say, but yeah, that's there. And the main problem, I think, because some players may see the solution, some player may see, a cutting or a backdoor, as you said. He wants to throw the ball to the cuts, and the guy doesn't cut. So you have a quick timing to respond as a team to some coverage, and that's the points I want to go to. You play a pick and roll. The coverage is maybe so-so, but you can't find a solution or clear shots through this. So you need to go to the second action, maybe a zoom, or as you said, a swing. You may bring whatever action you want, but then what's the concept you bring to the team? When the first ball screen doesn't hit something, do you have a rule to keep the flow, the momentum, or do you have different options?
I mean, there's a lot of different options, but the big thing is not letting the ball get stuck in one person's hand. So, like, if you go look at UConn's offense, right, the amount of movement that's happening, they're getting to an action right away, but then there's so much going on off the ball that one mistake, and now you're burned. So it's just about, like, having a consistent movement off the ball, and then the ball doesn't get stuck. So meaning the player is really willing to move it. If we didn't create advantage, let's swing and let's get to the next thing and try to find it in another way. So even when there's a variety of ways we can get to it. We can get to it off pin downs. We can get to it off splits action. We can get to it off flares. There's all different types of ways that we can try to find that advantage. And the big thing for me is just not letting the ball get stuck and keeping our players moving on the ball and off the ball.
Yeah. Constant pressure on the rim or to have clear shots. And then, that's the question, so you want to go, I take the example again of the pick and roll, doesn't work. Clearly, you swing, you have the opposite side pin down or something, and you have one player wanting to play pin down, another one wants to cut maybe to the rim or how cutting. They go for different actions. For different actions, two players, you have to make them play together, but they play another option, one from the other. I don't know if I am very clear. If you have different option and reading and a complex game and lots of rules, how do you make things clear to player to play fast and read quick and make decision together? That's the.
I think what you're asking is, how do we get the continuity to where the guys are making those decisions really fast? Is that correct?
Yeah, you don't want to to make them think as robots, to say,
Right.
ball 45, you do this. But yeah, I think you need to have some.
So we do. So there are certain things that are automatics, right? Now we try not to have too many automatics because again, we want to be random. We want to be hard to guard, and random is most difficult to prepare for. But there are certain situations on the court where we have automatics, right? So maybe a certain scheme, like if we're able to hit the short roll and the roller's towards the middle of the floor, we may cut the corner and take the opposite 45 and drop him. Just like little things like that. Or we're driving along the baseline with our point guard. We may have the opposite 45 guy cut, while at the same time, but we know I have my fill behind. So I know if I get to 2 feet, I don't have my cut, I'm not gnashing the baseline, I know I have the throwback to the fill behind. I know I have the roll. I know I have the opposite 45. So I've got the hammer, I've got the opposite kill cut. Now there's another guard over there who replaced. So there's 5 out system. And then we've got the fill behind. So just having the guys know where their teammates are going to be is critical. And so what we do is we script that in practice. We spend a tremendous time on 5-on-0.
Okay.
And I think that 5-on-0 presents somewhat of a comfort for our guys in the sense of, this is where he's going to be. And then, our 5-on-0, it's not like a walkthrough. It's at a very intense space, and the ball doesn't stop, and the ball keeps moving, and we don't score it on the first opportunity to score it. We keep it moving, and we keep practicing getting to that pace after in order to be difficult to guard. And more importantly, in order to develop chemistry within those guys, and to where they know they're familiar with each other, like we talked about earlier. And then the other thing is, when it comes to quick decision making, a big part of that is your player development. And going back to ball screen coverage, it's like that's part of small group work. Is like, hey, we're putting a double on the ball screen, and now we would do something similar to where we would, let's say we're doing a drill. There's no defender on the roller, which means the offensive player is now being trained every single time. The roller is open, so we hit the roller because there's nobody guarding him. And now the roller that has to read the low man who has to step up. So the roller is either getting a dunk or he's spraying it out to the corner. And we would do layered drills like that every single day.
Okay.
And so what we're doing is we're repping decisions. So it's not so much like how many shots did I make today. It's like how many good decisions did you make today?
Yeah.
And we were able to do that because we had bodies to do it. So we would have kind of dummy defenders, and those dummy defenders are scripted, and we would say, hey, we want you in a blitz, we want you doubling the ball, or we want you in a drop. And then based on what the offense is seeing, they have to react. We may do a drill where we're on the left slot and we're driving the nail, and we'll have the defender either be on the nail or where we hit the one more to the opposite side, or every once in a while we'll have him be hugged up, almost like he's in a deny, and now we teach different layers off of that. So what we try to do is we recreate the game in practice. And by recreate the game, I really mean recreate the coverage to where the players have to make that decision. So then by the time that it's game time, they've already made this decision a few hundred times this week.
Yeah.
And so it's not so complicated because, we just make them make that decision over and over and over again from 1 to 4 o'clock. And then, they get to the game and they're like, oh, this isn't as hard as I thought it would be.
All right, they're used to it.
That's the goal. Because used to it, there's everybody plays better when they're comfortable. Right? And it's like, how do we get them comfortable in an uncomfortable environment?
Yeah, that's a main point.
We make it really intense. We want our practices to be a lot more intense than our games. We get to a very, very intense level. and we want people tired, and we want them making difficult decisions in practice. So by the time they get to the game, it's almost a scale back.
Yeah, okay, I see. And I think that, yeah, that's the point you need to have, or you want to reach as a coach, make them comfortable, as you said, and prepare to make them read the defense and make them read the teammates and have a good decision as a team. So that's the main difficulty I have, I think, as a coach, is to make them have some priorities in the decision and in the options you make as a team. How do you
Right. Yeah, and I think one thing that's extremely important, even though I've been saying the game has to be random,
yeah,
we have to be on the same page. And in order to get to the same page, there has to be some level of understanding among the group on the floor of, you know, let's say I'm on the right side of the floor, I'm on the right wing, I'm getting a ball screen going left, I got my roller going. I have to know that if the strong side corner tags the roller, I have to know that there's going to be a shakeup. So I have to know that he's pulling behind as I drive towards the middle, and I have to be able to throw that pass in my left hand and know that with my eyes closed without looking, he's going to be there. Because if that's not established within our group, now that guy is still in the corner, and now that's a turnover.
Yeah.
But in that case, let's say that the point guard got a turnover and the strong side player tagged or strong side defender tagged, no shakeup. I'm probably more mad at the player who didn't shake up, because it's like, hey, this is a conceptual thing that we're all in alignment on. And so everybody has different concepts, but having everybody on the same page with those concepts is, I think, the critical component.
Yeah, maybe even that's a trouble or some problems you may have next season, because if you have a brand new roster with different players, different cultures, you have to make the game crystal clear and your concepts crystal clear for the team, I guess. So that's the main difficulty we have, because as you said, some coaches, we have some basics concepts or universal concepts, maybe like the shake concept. I think all the team may play it. I'm not sure, but most of the team may play it. But if you have some specific things, I think you have to take time to build the thing and to make it clear to your players, because they will play it the way you want or the way you don't want. But if they play together, that may be the points and the thing you want to have with your team. So
right. And I think that what's really important to understand is that all players learn in different ways. Myself, and I think the majority of players, learn best from doing. So we want to do as much as we can against dummy defense, and then we want to progress into live defense. Like, I once had a great coach who taught me this, and he said, first, we're going to teach it, then we're going to script it, then we're going to read it, then we're going to play it. So as a coach, you got to have the layers of the cake. How do I teach it? 5-on-0. All right, I'm teaching the concepts that I want my players to understand. Teaching it is more than 5-on-0. Teaching it is in the film room. Teaching it is in the whiteboard. Teaching it is in the huddle. Teaching it is having the players teach it to each other. All the layers of what teaching might be. And then we're going into scripted. So scripted is creating that situation like we talked about in practice. Hey, you're playing against drop coverage. It's scripted. You're going to see drop. This guy is going to go over. Oh, no, actually this guy. So now we switch it and we go into read it. So we tell the dummy defense, hey, I want you to mix it up, whether you're in drop or whether you're in a blitz. And we're telling the defender, I want you to on-ball defender. Mix it up, whether you're going under or over the first one. And so now we're making our ball handler read the situation. Or we'll put a situation to where there's no defender on the roller. And so we have a super aggressive tag from the weak side. And now the point guard has to make the decision. We'll put him in a constraint, meaning he has to pass it. And the point guard has to make a decision of, does he hit the opposite side or does he hit the roller? Right?
Yeah.
So now we have read it. So we have teach it, we have read it, or we teach it, script it, read it, and now we can play it. So now it's 5-on-5. Now we're trying to see who's developing it. And, figuring out those core beliefs. And then if you have the manpower, figuring out who can track who's making the decisions that we want to see as a staff, as a team, as an organization, and figuring out which people are doing the things you want so you can put those guys out there together. I think that's my belief on how we should do it.
Yeah, thanks. I really like the way to bring the game. You said so. Teach, script, read, and play. I think that's some kind of logical thing. So, but very clear and understandable for everyone. So it's a great thing and very, very pragmatic.
Yeah, there's a system. There's a system to all learning.
Yeah, that's a really great way to develop things and to reach different stages of your team, I guess. You can see other stuff. You can only beat dummy defenders. So, okay, you're in the script stage. Maybe you need to move on to the reading stage or to have a reading player or, I don't know, a smart player, if you can say this.
Right.
Yeah, you need to keep going to improve your team, reading and making decisions. That may be the points you want to know. And that's a question or a thing I want to know as a coach. That's a major problem I have. I think so, is to let the players play. Even if you want some scripted or very specific actions, you want to make them play as if you were controlling them, maybe. And the truth is, maybe you can't control the game or the player you have. So I think it's some posture of the coach, some management style. You have to use with the players you have to bring them to the philosophy of the team, or to make them think of how they want to play, how they want to solve problems together, how they want to, bring the action to be efficient. So, as a coach, how do you work with this kind of situation? Maybe, you want to have your philosophy, you have statistics to show what's more efficient on the team or what's less efficient, maybe. Then you have the player's mind or players and team wanting to play some specific things. And I think that's something difficult you need to take care of, the opposition maybe between your style and what the players want to play.
I mean, I don't even think that's a conversation for me. If this is the way it's going to be, and this is how we're going to win, and we're going to get these results, and if you're really truly having difficulty with buy-in, it comes down to there's a qualitative data. Qualitative is what we see, it's what we can observe. And then there's a quantitative data. And the quantitative data is like, here's the points per possession, here's the points per shot when we do it this way. And here's the points per shot, here's the points per possession when things don't go this way. And having quantifiable data that justifies your beliefs is extremely important, especially in today's age where, questioning is a big part of our game, and that's okay. You need people who are willing to kind of question things and say, hey, is there a better way? But having quantifiable data that backs up, hey, this is the reason why our philosophy is this way and why it will be this way, I think is really, really important. So just having having the numbers to say, hey, this is why it has to be this way.
Yeah.
And then once you have that, there's not a room for another belief. There's not, because we all have to be on the same mission. I listened to the Marines talk last weekend. It was the Brigadier of the Marines and Coach Tab Boyle of Colorado and Frank Martin from UMass, and the military man said, hey, if we're not all on the same page, people die.
Yeah.
And in a game, if we're not all on the same page, you lose the game. But here in the military, if we're not all on the same page, we're going to lose people. And while it's a different dynamic, it's the same. We have a mission we need to accomplish. And if one person deviates, hey, I have my own motive, you're putting everybody at risk.
Yeah.
So we just don't have room for that, because we're here to win, and winning is the standard.
That's a goal everybody has or may have. That's maybe another problem you may have as a coach, that your season data may not be your game data or instance you need to have. I mean, there.
I think.
Oh yeah.
I think that the data is like a living organism, right?
Yeah.
So every single time we play, every single time a shot goes up, that's being tracked, and we now understand how does that impact the final equation. But when it comes to, okay, somebody has scouted our baseline out of bounds, and they've done a great job of knowing what we want to do. One of the great things I learned when I was working with the Pacers in their video room, I would be scouting some of these really, really special coaches. And the formations would be the same. So all the players are in the exact same spot, and they begin in the first few parts of the dance are the same. But then there's a wrinkle, and all of a sudden they break off, and it's just a little bit different. Even though it looks exactly the same in the formation at the beginning, all of a sudden there's a small, slight tweak. And because the defense is gearing up to take away what is expected, like I said earlier, there's always something you can exploit their scheme.
Yeah.
Now, because they're making such effort to take away what they think is our option, boom, we hit a wrinkle. We have that small deviation in what looks very similar, and now we have something a little bit different. Even though it's very similar, that's how I like to handle that, is having different wrinkles within what we do all the time. So same formation, same play, small twist, and to me, that's how you deal with it. And I think the best coaches you can't always tell what they're running, because it all looks the same.
Yeah.
You go look at UConn. Coach Hurley is a great example. Like, a lot of their stuff looks similar, and then all of a sudden, boom, they make a cut, they wrap it extra time, and now it's the defense has made a mistake.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about wrinkles.